The sky is blue. It's a fact that we all know and we take it for granted. I mean, why would a kid ask why the sky is blue when there are more important questions to be asked, like, does a toilet roll end in the shower? And since this is something we learned at a very young age, most of us don't remember how we found out about it. Well, if you were a kid, then I would tell you that the sky is blue because God colored it that way. Because why not? But if you weren't a kid and you're watching this video, then chances are your explanation was a little different. You see, the sky isn't actually blue. That's an illusion caused by our atmosphere. When sunlight enters our atmosphere, it gets scattered in all directions by the tiny molecules of gas. This scattering effect is called Rayleigh scattering. And just like in this video, shorter wavelengths of light such as blue and violet get scattered more than longer wavelengths like red and orange. So what started out as white sunlight gets scattered into a beautiful blue sky and red sunsets and sunrises. Now, since we can't see violet light as well as some other wavelengths, we see the sky as blue rather than violet. Now, the blue color we see during the day is actually a uniform light coming from all parts of the sky. However, the sky looks different when we look at it from different angles. For example, the sky looks darker above our heads and lighter at our peripheral vision. And we also see clouds, airplanes, birds, and other things in the sky. All these things block some of the blue light coming from the sky, which makes the sky appear darker. In addition, the brain does some complicated processing of the input from our eyes and creates an even darker area right above our heads. So looking up at the sky appears darker than looking off to the side. And then there's the horizon. The reason the sky is lighter at our peripheral vision is that we are seeing light reflected off the ground. And since the ground is a mirror, the reflection is brighter than the direct light from the sky. And the brightest part of the sky is at the zenith, which is directly above us. Okay, but what about clouds? Clouds are white. So why don't they look blue? Well, clouds are made of water droplets, which are much larger than the molecules in the atmosphere. When sunlight hits a cloud, it gets scattered in all directions by the water droplets, but the amount of scattering doesn't depend on the wavelengths of light. So all the colors of the rainbow get scattered equally and we see clouds as white. The same thing happens with airplane contrails, which are simply ice crystals. Now, it might seem strange that we see the sky as blue when we're on Earth, but not when we're in space. Spaceships don't have an atmosphere to scatter sunlight, so the sky looks black. But don't think astronauts aren't affected by this atmospheric scattering. Here's a picture taken by an astronaut on the International Space Station. Can you tell which way is up in this picture? Of course you can. And it's because the astronaut is seeing the Earth's atmosphere scatter sunlight. Now let me ask you another. Why are skies on other planets different colors? Let's start with Mars. Mars has a thin atmosphere, so its sky is mostly dark, but it does have a reddish tint. The red color comes from iron oxide or rust in the Martian soil. When the soil is exposed to UV radiation from the sun, the iron atoms in the soil get knocked out of their crystalline lattice and then they migrate through the soil until they encounter a water molecule and rust forms. Rust is red, so the sky on Mars is red. Now, Jupiter has a really colorful sky. Its atmosphere is mostly hydrogen and helium, and these gases absorb red and blue light and reflect green. So the sky on Jupiter is green. But what about Venus? Venus has a thick atmosphere of carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide molecules absorb ultraviolet and visible light and reflect infrared light. So if you were on Venus, you wouldn't be able to see the sky. You could only see the ground and anything nearby illuminated by the reflected light from the ground. I didn't know any of that stuff when I was a kid, but now that you know it, please consider supporting us because knowledge is power. And with your support, we can make even more videos to empower people all around the world.